All right, hello. Well, welcome to this tutorial. We're going to be building a personal blog and portfolio built with React as our front end and Sanity.io as our CMS, our content management system. The styling is going to be done with Tailwind CSS, which we're going to install via NPM. We're going to have single blog posts, so each card is an individual blog post coming from Sanity. You can click into it and get the full blog post. And then we're going to have another custom post type, which is going to be a portfolio section, which is also going to be where you can click into it and get a better idea of the project built. And we're also going to be deploying to Netlify, which allows us to use Netlify forms, which will have a fully functioning working contact form that will hit your email. So let's get started. Okay, so first I'm going to cd into my projects folder, and there I'm going to make a new folder. So you can do mkdir in the terminal, and we're going to call this Sanity Tutorial. Okay, and instead of using Create React App, we're going to use a bundling package called Vite, which is French for fast. Vite is very fast. It bundles up our project and builds it out very quickly, and it also will take care of the purging of our unused CSS classes from Tailwind. So I'm going to cd into the folder I just made. So we're going to do an npm init at vite.js/app. And I like to name my my React applitions as the front end, so because it's going to create an entire folder within our root directory, and an easy way to distinguish between the front end and the back end is to just call it the front end. And here Vite's going to give us a list of options. We have vanilla, JavaScript, Vue, JS, but we're going to use React. And here it's asking us if we want to do React with just plain JavaScript or React with TypeScript. We're going to go for just plain vanilla JavaScript. All right, and that's it. So we're going to cd into our front end, and we're going to do a npm install to install all of our dependencies. All right, and now that that's done, we're going to do an npm run dev to make sure that our React app was successfully installed. All right, so if you go to localhost 3000, cool, that worked, and that was very, very fast. That's part of Vite. It creates scaffolds out React applications incredibly quickly. And it already added a little bit of state management. If you click into this counter, you can see it increments. Okay, so let's do a Control-C to break the server. And I'm going to do a cd ... to go back into our root directory. And I'm going to type in code followed by a period to open this up in VS Code. Okay, so I'm going to open up the terminal in VS Code. And I'm going to make sure that we're still in our root directory, which we are. And next we're going to do is we're going to install Sanity.io. So I already have Sanity installed globally on my computer. If you don't, you could run this command right here from their docs. It's npm install -g at sanity/CLI. But I already have that, so I'm just going to do a sanity init, which is going to bootstrap a new project for us. And I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to name this backend. Actually name it backend san. All right, so it's going to initialize, and it's going to ask us to do if we want to use the default data set, which yes, we do. This might take a while. That was not fast. So next it's going to ask for our project output path. So that looks correct. And it's going to give us some options of if we want to do a movie project, an e-commerce store, you can create it with a clean schema, but we're going to use the blog schema. So that may take a while. So we're going to cd into our backend folder, and we're going to make sure that Sanity installed properly. So we're going to do a Sanity start, and this is going to spin up our backend server for our project. Okay, and we're going to visit localhost 3333 to see if it installed properly, which it looks like it has. So we're going to sign in with my Google account, and here we go. So this is going to be our CMS, which we're going to add a little bit onto this. Right now we have category. Instead, we're going to replace categories with tags. You can create which author. So if you have multiple users on your blog, you can have multiple authors. And then posts is going to be all of our blog posts, and we'll make another post type for our projects. Cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and Control-C and break the server. And we're going to cd back into our root directory, and then we're going to cd into our front end. And next we're going to need to install Tailwind. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Vite Tailwind documentation for a view, but we're going to change a few things to make it compatible with React. So if we go to Tailwind Docs and go to the View Vite guide, it's going to be pretty simple. So we're going to copy and paste this right here, and we're going to install this into our React client folder. Okay, and then we're going to want to get our Tailwind package config file. So npx Tailwind CSS init-p, and this is going to create our post CSS folder and our Tailwind config folder. And the next thing we want to do is we want to purge any unused Tailwind classes. If you don't purge your classes, your website will deploy with them, and you'll end up having a very hefty, slow website. So we would definitely want to make sure we purge them. So if we go to the Tailwind config, and right here in purge, we're going to paste this from the documentation, and we're going to change out view, and we're going to change that to React. All right. And next we need to import these Tailwind components into our React CSS. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and do some maintenance. I'm going to clean up some files that we don't need. We don't need app.css. We don't need the favicon. We don't need the logo. And yep, we're going to delete those. And then we're going to make sure we're not importing them anywhere. So in main, we don't need, main is fine. And then app, we don't need the logo anymore, and we don't need the app CSS. And now in index CSS, we're going to go ahead and clear all of this out. And we're going to paste in those imports and save. And let's test to see if this is working. So we don't need use state right now. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this entire return. Okay, so inside this return, we're going to return a div with an h2 with a class of text 5xl and a class of text red 400. And we'll say hello world. All right. Now let's check to see if we installed Tailwind properly. So we'll do a npm run dev. All right. And now we'll go to localhost 3000, and there we have it. Our Tailwind has been properly installed. And just to test that again, let's do a font bold. And there we go. So it works. Awesome. All right, I know this is a lot of setup, but in the long run, it'll make our development process a lot quicker. So next we're going to break the server, and we're going to cd back into our root directory. And now we want to Git repository for our project, because we're going to push to Git, and every time we push to Git, Netlify is going to redeploy our website and rebuild it. So let's go to GitHub and go to create a new repository. I'm going to call this Sanity Tutorial. All right, create the repository. And I am going to copy this URL. Now back in our, this is very important, now that we're back in our root directory, so ls, just to double check we're in our root directory, we're going to do git init, and then we're going to do git add dot, that's going to add all of our files. All right, we're going to do a git commit. Okay, so my git commit just went kind of crazy, but hopefully this still works. Now we need to add our remote origin, so we're going to do git remote add origin, and then we're going to paste in that URL. And now we're going to push up to that repository, so we'll do git push origin master. All right, so we're all pushed up. That took a little bit of time. Hopefully it worked. And yeah, all right, cool. We have our backend, which I named really dumb, but whatever. And we have all of our front end files. Perfect. So next we want to do is we want to deploy this to Netlify. So first thing we want to do is we want to go back into our front end. And we want to run npm run build, and npm run build is going to build out the static assets and folder for our project. As you can see here, it added this dist folder, which is going to be our distribution folder. We have all of our assets, and then we have a plain index HTML. All right, so now we want to go to Netlify, and we want to add a new site from Git. Click on GitHub. And I think, what do I call this? So Sanity Tutorial. So this is where it gets a little confusing. So we want to point Netlify into the correct folder structure. So since we're deploying this from our front end, we want to give it that path of /frontend/ our build command. It's a little odd. I haven't been able to get it to work with npm run build. I did some Googling and found out that this command right here works. CL equals npm run build. I think it's just command line equals space between the equal and the n. And our publish directory is going to be that dist folder. So hopefully this works. We want to deploy from our master branch. All right, let's see if this works. It takes a little bit of time for Netlify to kind of run all the proper commands and install the packages and stuff like that. So the initial deployment takes a little bit of time, but after that, maybe like 20 seconds tops once you push to GitHub. Okay, so it says it's published, and Netlify gives you this like weird, absurd URL, but you can have it point to a custom domain if you want, or you can actually rename this. So let's see if it worked. And yep, we are deployed. So this was a lot of initial setup, but the advantages of like having Git installed and already being deployed on Netlify is going to make our development process a lot easier. And also, the worst is like when you build out a React app and then you can't get it deployed, and then you pull your hair out. So hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. In the next video, hopefully will come out this week, we'll start building out the page layout and the components, and we'll do some Tailwind stuff. And then hopefully maybe in the third video we can actually fetch data from our backend and template it out. So awesome. Thank you for watching.